Fourth inning in Brisbane. Sunny skies, 4-0 lead. And Sam Holland back to work against Jun Woo Shin, who cracks a foul. Good to have you all with us. If you're just joining, Brisbane scored all four in the first. Two-run Daikon Yo home run, the highlight. And here we are now, inning 4. Joined on the broadcast right now by Dayton Moore, who today is here as a dad, here as Bob Moore's lovely father, but also the senior advisor for baseball operations for the Texas Rangers, former general manager, building a World Series champion in the Kansas City Royals. Dayton Moore, welcome to the broadcast.
Great to be with you guys.
How is it watching your son play in Australia?
You know, it's always fun. It's always to watch, your children or the people you care about do something they love. And, we obviously share a common bond with a love and passion for this great game, as you do. And so it's wonderful to be out here watching it with my wife, Marianne.
Fly out there for Shin. You're here as a dad watching Bob. I'm really curious how you watch a baseball game when you're in the more scouting role and you came up in scouting versus I'm watching Bob.
It's truthfully, it's the same. I've always had a great affection for players and the commitment it takes to play this game, and it's and the fact that I've always watched the game that way really, I think, kind of takes the pressure off. Of course, I pull for our son to do well, but at the same time, I get caught up just watching the baseball game and pulling for all the players, and really it kind of helps me manage my emotions as a father.
A ball on Kim. You've been able to watch Bob, and home run last night. He reached base 4 times the night before, turned a great 4 to 5 put out at second base. How has it been kind of assessing his performance here down under?
Well, I mean, Robert's, he's the type of player that, and I've always told him this, and I've reminded him of the quote by the great John Wooden, and you and I were talking about the other night. John Wooden would rather have a player who makes the team great than a great player. And, I've always stressed to Robert and every player, truthfully, that I've been around is, just try to do something every single day to help the team win baseball games. And it may not show up in the box score. It may just be your approach in pregame.
Base hit for Kim.
Your approach in pregame, how you get on and off the field, how you encourage your teammates, certainly how you run the bases, the way you approach an at-bat, and just try to do something every single day to help the baseball team win. And if you do that, when the season is concluded, you'll look back and you probably had a pretty good year.
He's having a great year right now. CJ.
One of the biggest things that a lot of the players have said about Bob, and is that he is absolute gamer, that he lives, breathes anything, and I find it so impressive sometimes. After everybody's taking BP, I think he's wearing out the coach's arms in the batting cages, taking extra cuts. Is that something that you've instilled in him as both a father and somebody in baseball, or is that something that just seems to be born within him that just drives him?
CJ, I think that really he's had the pleasure of just watching a lot of good players play, and so he's benefited from watching Alex Gordon and Eric Hosmer and other guys. I mean, I remember when Robert was 4 years old, he was taking ground balls with Elvis Andrews, when we were with the Braves. And so he's always been around the game. And so naturally, he does some things and picks some things up from that standpoint. When you watch players, you learn a lot. And you learn their routines. And so he's had a chance to do that.
Exposure to greatness in so many ways. Chopper off the bat of Ha. Dermot Frisch to first. And 2 out, man at second for Sam Holland. And the Bandits, Dayton Moore, you won a 2015, of course, the World Series with the Kansas City Royals, building the Royals. Now, there's 2 Royals World Series in your lifetime. One of them you pulled over off the side of the highway to watch. The second one, you're up in the box at the stadium watching a team you built. How full circle is that moment for Royals
it's
fan?
kind of crazy, and that's the beautiful thing about life. And if you just keep pursuing the things that you love and that you're passionate about, I think you'll be rewarded. And but we we had a lot of fun in Kansas City. We had some great people. We had great support from ownership, the Glass family, who allowed us to build the team from the ground up. We did it with homegrown talent, and there's another group of quality homegrown players that are on the horizon that made their way to Kansas City last year. And the Royals they're going to start winning baseball games again soon because of those young homegrown players that are now transitioning to the major leagues, and they got to figure out how to win at the major league level, and that's something that you have to learn. But the talent is certainly there and something to be proud of.
I just heard homegrown 4 times. I know that's your philosophy. That's what you built that World Series champion on, homegrown. Why is that concept so important? Laser beam, that's just a foul off Jan's bat.
Well, I think that, in a small market, I think you've got to do it a little different. I mean, you're never going to compete for the top free agents in the game. You're just simply not going to win the negotiations. And the economics of baseball are broken. They tilt heavily towards big markets. Television money is a major game changer, and small markets just can't bring in that type of revenue. And so you have to do it with homegrown guys that go through all the ups and downs together. Of course, you want to put them in a position to win championships in the minor leagues, and that's something we always stressed. But I think that's how you win in a small market, with your own talent.
Trowbridge scoops that, and the Bandits get out of the top of the 4th. Dayton, I'd love you to stick around for the bottom of the inning. You can. We'll continue the conversation with Dayton Moore when we come back. 4-0, Bandits leading GK. Bottoms up. Baby's having a nice time napping. Bandits are having a nice time winning. Winners of 12 of 13 roll along to the bottom of the 4th. Donald Lutz leading off the inning. Down 0-1 on the young Korean right-hander, Yi Hwang Jung. Here on the broadcast, we're joined by Dayton Moore, who is here, of course, as Bob Moore's father, but also the senior advisor for baseball operations for the Texas Rangers. Mr. Moore, I know you've been to Australia before, quite a bit. How do you, from your perspective as a former general manager, senior advisor, assess the ABL?
Well, I think, first of all, it's just an unbelievable environment for players to continue to play. I've always been a huge advocate of winter ball. Fewer and fewer players are committing to play winter ball around the world today because they've got their own private coaches and they want to develop their bodies, and I understand all that, but there's nothing that beats playing. And so I applaud the league and the country for providing the opportunities. Of course, the Australian baseball player I've always had deep respect for. They're very intelligent, they're very committed. They're skilled players. I've known Phil Dale for many years, who was our Eastern Rim coordinator for the Atlanta Braves.
He's here today.
He is here. And, of course, we had Dave Nielsen towards the end of his career with the Braves as a player, and what an unbelievable career he had. And so, I've always grown up in this game admiring, the wonderful baseball people of Australia.
You talk about homegrown players, and anybody who's in the game loves to see the growth of the game, loves to see it expand. Australia is one place where it seems to be growing quite a bit. Do you, as somebody involved in Major League Baseball, see Australia as a big growth market for some talented players?
I think Major League Baseball would be very foolish in not understanding that and trying to continue to expand our efforts in Australia. I mean, the weather obviously works great. The players, as I said before, there's a lot of tremendous athletes, guys that have the ability to focus and concentrate and are disciplined. And of course, it's to have a team like with Geelong here, with Korean. I think is it LG, the LG twins that supply the players,
yes.
Right? And I think that is another amazing opportunity to have that integration with the Asian player, who another culture that I've just got such deep respect for. I mean, you talk about, I think the Asian player, truthfully, is the most skilled baseball player in the world, and they spend so much time just developing, and they understand, they commit to the repetition that it takes to develop skill. But, yeah, I think Major League Baseball should continue to do everything they can to support the efforts of Australia in the game of baseball.
And in your opinion, is one of those efforts continuing to send players like your son, like Bob, like the young arms that the Brewers have out in the bullpen, doing that sort of collaborative effort?
No doubt. I think it's just, especially, with something that, and I don't agree with. I don't agree with minor league contraction. I don't agree with reduction in the draft. There's only 180 players a team can have under control now, and there's talk that may decline more in the future. And so the timeline to develop players is going to shorten. And you're going to have to send players, in my opinion, to develop sooner, and you can't be as patient, and so you're going to have to send them out to play. I know when Robert asked me about should he go play baseball, this winter or work out, I mean, it was a no-brainer. Go play. Go play. Playing baseball is how you get better.
Quick 1-2-3 inning will send us to the top of the fifth. Dayton, you have time for one more half inning? Great. We'll be back with Dayton in the top of the fifth. 4-0, Brisbane lead at home. Fifth inning in Brisbane. Good look at some of the fans who came from Korea to watch a team made up of young KBO stars. Geelong-Korea taking on the Bandits. And 4-0 the lead. Brisbane on top thanks to a Daikon Yo home run. Looking today for a sweep. Here on the broadcast, Sam Brief, CJ Barnes, and Dayton Moore, Senior Advisor for Baseball Operations for the Texas Rangers, longtime General Manager for the Kansas City Royals, and a World Series champion. Ripped to center field, base hit in the gap. That's Chan Hyuk Park. Wheeling into first, he'll stay there tentatively with a leadoff single. The fans are loving it right under our booth here. So here with Dayton Moore. Dayton, you just started with the Rangers. A lot of buzz around that place. Bringing you aboard, bringing Bruce Bochy aboard, and most recently Jacob deGrom aboard. What's the culture of that building like right now?
Well, Chris Young, who's the general manager there, is an amazing leader, extremely intelligent. Above all, he's a terrific person, and he cares about people, he cares about the game, and I think it's just an unbelievable opportunity for the Rangers. And of course, Ray Davis, the owner, recognized that to put CY in charge, and such great respect from people around the game at every level, and I just think it's a great place to be. And of course, they've done a nice job in scouting and player development, and of course, having Bruce Bochy on board, a Hall of Fame manager, is going to make a huge difference as well.
Base hit to center field, Sang-Pin Yu. Bochy, a legend, of course, three-time World Series champ with the Giants. What is something that people might not know about Bruce Bochy that you know by working intimately with him?
Well, I haven't worked closely with Boch yet, obviously.
You've worked closely against him.
We have. But one of my mentors and great friends was the late Dick Tidrow, who passed away just a little over a year ago now. And Dick Tidrow oversaw scouting and player development for the Giants for many years, and truthfully, in my opinion, was highly responsible for a lot of their championships. And
another rip for GK. This is off Kim's bat. Park wheels in to score. Runners on first and third after the ball squeaks by. Geelong-Korea on the board with 3 straight singles.
But Dick. So I feel like I know Boch pretty well because of Dick Tidrow, and but Boch knows how to, like all the great managers, whether it be Bobby Cox or Tony La Russa or Joe Torre or all those guys. They have a way of relating with players and motivating players by just believing in them. They're very patient people, and I think Boch has always had the ability to bring out the best in his players. He's always had good pitching coaches as well, which makes a huge difference. But and he worked for another Hall of Famer in Brian Sabian over there with the Giants, who was obviously the great general manager there with the Giants when they were winning. And so he just comes from a great culture, and to have Bruce Bochy as the manager of the Rangers, I know everybody's just thrilled.
One thing I know about Bruce Bochy that people might not know, he's got an enormous head. He has to get, he does. It's like his hat size is 8+.
8
something like, yeah,
plus?
It's over 8, which is very large for a hat.
My oh my. Parker Harm in the bullpen for the Bandits. Speaking of great pitching coaches, just a mound visit from Brisbane pitching coach Jim Bennett. I saw you chatting with Jim yesterday. He and Dave Nilsson put together such a winner here in Brisbane. What stands out most to you about this Bandits team?
Just watching them from a distance and listening and asking questions, and now watching them play. Really, you could just tell that there's some tremendous harmony amongst the players, right? And of course, Dave Nilsson and ownership sets that tone and creates that environment. But it just seems like a really neat group of players that just care about winning, and that's refreshing, and it's good to see.
How do you like it in Brisbane, in Australia? I know this isn't your first rodeo.
I haven't seen a lot of the country. Usually when I've always come to Australia, it's strictly for baseball. This trip is a little different, but we'll get a chance, to the next couple days to spend some time in Brisbane, and then, we're going to, follow the team to Canberra and get a chance to spend some time in that city as well.
Dayton Moore, senior advisor for baseball operations for the Rangers, father of Brisbane second baseman Bob Moore. He's lined up into double play position right now. 1-2 to Lee, whacked foul. We see a lot of roles like yours more now and now, senior advisor to X. What does that mean? What's your role going to look like?
I think it's probably different for every organization, but the way I envision this role is just being somebody who is there for Chris Young, kind of let the needs of the organization kind of guide my path based on what they're experiencing and what the current needs during the current year are. The calendar years is
Bennett to second after a dive. 1 out, throw squeaks by, and a run scored, but really good play there by TJ Bennett.
Good play, yeah. Good to keep the double play in order there, too.
So 4-2 now, and a big ground ball opportunity here for Holland. So you were saying the role
I think
in
it's just, so for example, you have the international market, and then you have the draft, then you have, obviously, the free agent season right now and where we are in the off season, and then you have the trade deadline that's approaching. So, throughout the calendar year, there's different things that you're dealing with. Different times of the year require different energies and different intellect and different focus, and so I'll get a chance to take part in a lot of different things, which I'm looking forward to, and especially spending more time with the draft and the minor leagues and player development, which is as you know how I started in the game anyway.
We'll step aside for a quick moment. Pitching change for the Bandits, brought to you by Ace Comms when we come back. Pitching change for the Bandits, brought to you by Ace Comms. After 4 1/3 out of Sam Holland, its first-year Bandit, Parker Harm, who Brisbane fans have taken a liking to. Fiery left-hander out of North Dakota State in the Kansas City Royals farm system. Ahead 0-1 on Min-Suk Kim. Here with Dayton Moore, who was general manager for greater part of 2 decades with the Kansas City Royals. Here's one of the guys you signed. I'm curious.
Matt Price signed him. He was our area scout, and but I just know he's got a great arm, and I think everybody feels really good about his future.
That ball popped out of the mid of Trowbridge, so man at second. Dayton, before we took a pause, you were talking about how you came up to being a general manager. A lot of that has changed, but you came up the old school way, scouting, player development.
Yeah, it has changed, and some of it certainly for the better. I think there's no substitute for, learning at the lower levels. And, I'm proud of the way that, I was brought up in the game as an area scout. And so, therefore you can, identify for, what a lot of people go through in the game. And I just great appreciation for, what people do in this game, the different roles that they have. And so just really, really, proud of how I grew up in the game.
As analytics has become such a big part of how teams are put together, how teams are managed, how everything is done from top to bottom in a baseball organization, do you feel, and I know speaking with Jim Bennett, he's mentioned something in the same, do you feel that some of the old school coaching style, that player relationship side of things, do you feel like there still needs to be struck that strong balance between the two? Yeah,
I do. I do believe in a balance. And, of course, today's player is growing up a little differently. And, they want all the information. They enjoy the analytics. They enjoy the data. And, therefore, as coaches and as instructors, it's important for us to adapt and learn, the language and learn to be able to relate to the player. But, there's nothing beats the experience in watching the evolution of a player. And I really think to be highly successful, you've got to understand the evolution of a player. You've got to understand the evolution of a coach, a scout, an instructor, a front office executive. And that's why I think experience is so important. And, again, that's why I'm proud of, the way I grew up in the game, because I feel like that having had some, opportunities to serve in different roles just gives you better insight at times.
Perspective on a people's game. We got a good game right now. Runners on first and second. And the potential go-ahead run at the plate. Jun-Woo Shin, the GK shortstop, battling with harm. Chopper, that's a big one. Over to your boy, Bob Moore. Over to first for the out. A double play for the Bandits, tailor-made. That's a good way to finish it off. Watch your son turn two. Dayton Moore, thank you for joining us on the
guys.
broadcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it.